Good evening. I am calling to order the December 16th, 2025 Fountain City Council meeting. Please stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance if able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Thompson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Estes,
Here.
Councilmember Veerhoff,
Here.
Councilmember Geek,
Here.
Councilmember Rick,
Here.
Councilmember Hertzberg,
Here.
Councilmember Ruffinack.
Here.
I have 7 members present.
IT, I have an issue with my little screen over here, if you could give me a hand. All right, thank you very much. That takes us on to item 4, public to be heard, the big black square, I'm not going to be able to see. Okay, thank you. Citizens may address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Council may not be able to provide an immediate answer, but will direct staff to follow up. Out of respect for the council and others in attendance, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. I have 2 cards. And the first one is from Eddie. And he wants to talk about nighttime disc golf group at Cumberland Green Golf Course. If you could come down, push the big center button there, and state your full name for the record, please.
My name is Eddie Frazier.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, hi guys. So I help with an event, not really an event, but it's a group of guys from Fountain and also from Colorado Springs. We meet during the week at Cumberland on Wednesdays to disc golf. Recently, we have been having the police called on us like several times. And each time we've explained, so there's a posting at the park that says that the park closes at 9 p.m. But the police are coming before 9 p.m. and telling us we have to leave the park. And so I'm here today to ask what steps I need to take or what we can do to be in accordance or be in line so that this doesn't continue happening, because I'm sure it's a mess for the city with the cops coming out, and just to not have anything happen, because we are just a group of individuals not doing anything. They always let us stay. But we just want to see if there's anything we can do about this, as far as if we could get like a permit or something that we can show to the police, just to make it official, I guess, or something of that nature, so that we don't have to continue to talk to the police, but also so that maybe the police don't have to come. It doesn't have to be something like that.
Okay, Mr. Evans has his mic on, and he looks like he has your answer.
So I've got some answers for you. So basically, this has been, the complaints that come in have been from the neighbors. So the folks that live around and they back to that park. So they do have a right to call in and complain. The police department will come out and investigate and contact you and have discussions with you anytime they do get those complaints. So what I'd recommend is you follow the rules and the times that are on the sign that we posted out there. We did post some additional signs, because it may not be you, but we do have others that are hanging out in that general area, and they are causing an issue for those neighbors. So follow those rules. If the officers come out, just be respectful and talk to them about what you are doing and how you're doing it. But we can't tell you that we won't respond to those complaints. And this has been an ongoing issue, may not have anything to do with you guys. Because you're not the only ones that use that. So just follow the rules, and when the police do arrive, if they arrive, just be respectful and explain what you're doing and how you're doing it, and they'll make a decision on scene what needs to occur.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You betcha. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. IT, which mic are you preferring that I use? The extra one or the? Extra one for now. Okay, all right. All right, then the second card I have is from Steve Arce and FPD, it says. So, Madam Clerk, okay, we can restart his time.
Good evening, Steve Arce. And so the reason I wanted to come, and this is a little bit late from when it actually occurred, but October 30th, I made arrangements to do a ride-along with Fountain Police Department. And I think some things need to be said regarding that overall. You know, years and years ago, and I have a pretty good understanding of law enforcement, both from my current job and previous working. And years ago, when police departments were asked, what's the most realistic cop show on TV, it wasn't things like Hawaii Five-0 or SWAT, or I can't even name them now. But it was an old show called Barney Miller, for those of you that remember it. And it was because it emphasized the humanity that is required to be a police officer, not just the black and white, but the humanity of it, as well as the often tedious things that cops have to do. And I have to say, based upon all of my experience, sir, I was very impressed by your officers. My only complaint was that it could have gone on longer for me. Understandable. You know, I got a few minutes of red and blue lights, which was okay. You know, it was all right. I was more interested in how they handled their interactions. And as was pointed out to me earlier tonight when I handed my card, I'm known as one of the people that likes to do their research. And this is one of those things where it's like, when I hear people complain, I'm like, no, I know there's two sides to this. And this was truly a good demonstration to me that our police department is not just a bunch of people who look at the rule book, look at the car, or look at the incident and try and go down the line. They try to also put that human equation into it, and they try to temper things, not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of it as well. And I guess really, if I were to say that I have a complaint, my complaint is because we have often in this forum discussed community members not being involved. And I guess the complaint would be, I don't understand why there are not more citizens in this township, in this community, doing those ride-alongs. I am counting my days down for my 90-day time frame to be able to go and do it again. And I would love nothing else to show up at the police department and say, hey, I'm ready to sign up for my ride-along, and have the person there at the front desk sit there and tell me, we'd love to get you in, but it's going to be at least a 2-week wait because we have a waiting list. And that, I think, should be the goal, is to get people involved, get people to see both sides of things, so we're not just always jumping the gun and saying, hey, it's bad this, it's bad that. Because, again, both wearing the uniform and riding in the patrol car and working with them very closely over the last 30 years, I was very impressed. So kudos to you and your officers, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've done ride-along too, and it's very interesting to watch. Yep, thank you. I think some others up here have done some too. If you haven't done it, it's easy to do. Yeah, just wear good shoes. Good shoes? Good shoes, that's right. No sandals, good shoes, right? Yep. And open-toed shoes. Okay, all right. Well, it was 4th of July the last time I went, so it was pretty warm that night, in more ways than one. All right, that's the last of the cards I have. Thank you very much. That takes us on to item 5.1, presentations. There are none tonight. Item 5.2, board, commission, and committee appointments. There are none tonight. Item 6, correspondence, comments, and ex officio reports. Mr. Trainer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Great training last night, appreciate it. If there are any follow-up questions, anytime you have training like that, there's always things that start hitting you later. So please feel free to reach out, myself, Joni, Chris, whomever, and we'll really work to try to answer any questions that you do have. I've already had a couple great conversations that have.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Hi. We can hear y'all talking way up here. Thank you.
I had a couple great conversations that came out of that, so that's been very valuable. I want to let the council know we're working on planning our events for next year. And one of the things and we'll be coming back to the council on this, but one of the things we're doing is we're looking at the community night out in September and talking about potentially moving it up in the year into a summer, so it's a longer day. It's a little bit later in the evening, anyway, so that more people can attend that, and sort of reinventing that kind of thing. So I just want to let the council know about that. And just really want to welcome the 2 new council members and wish you guys all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I look forward to working with you this next year.
Thank you. I just want to double check. Joni, was there a card I missed? No? Okay. All right, thank you. Alrighty. All right, Chris?
Nothing, thank you.
Planning? Chiefs?
Welcome new council members. I have nothing for the group other than to say thank you, Mr. Arce, for your comments. We pride ourselves in how we operate and how we act and interact with the public, and it's just very appreciative you coming to a public forum and making those comments, so I appreciate you, sir.
Anything from water in the back row? All right, city clerk's office?
Not necessarily from the clerk's office, other than to welcome the new council members, but from Fountain Up, I just wanted to say we had a great event on last Saturday, and we were able to, approximately 300 kids shop through our shopping center here in this room. It was a great experience. We had many volunteers, many sponsors that helped with that, and many donations from our community, so it was a great event, and I just appreciate it when I put a thanks out to everybody.
It looked fun around here, yes. Councilmember, IT, anything? Well, I thought you'd brag on your new projector. Don't jinx it, huh? Okay, all righty. Councilmember Hersberg, anything tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, since this will be our last meeting of the year, on December 20th is the Space Force birthday, so happy birthday early to our Space Force members.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Geek? Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor. Okay, Councilmember Rick?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Town Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Estes?
Nothing this evening, just a very Merry Christmas to everyone and Happy New Year. See you next year.
All right, Councilmember Veerhoff?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor, but Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody.
All right, and Councilmember, I'm going to kill your name, Ruffinack?
Ruffinack, you got it.
Close enough, okay.
Nothing tonight, but the happiest of holidays and New Year to everyone.
All right, thank you. Well, in addition to all that, I do have a couple things to share. Marcia, I can't believe you didn't mention, Marcia and I were at Wreaths Across America. VFW did a fantastic program with that, explained what it was all about, and then we had a ton of Cub Scouts there and different kids to help put the wreaths out, as well as family members who had a loved one that was buried there, that they were able to lay it on the grave themselves, and then the rest of us just kind of filled in, and so that was very an honor to do. So I did want to share with you, we had the hearing that you probably saw in the news for the sentencing for the man who took the life of our police officer, Officer Becerra. The judge did not have the statements read, allowed to be read, except in the courtroom. They weren't out for the media, they weren't recorded. Thank you, Gordon, you were there too, yes. So I would like to go ahead and read into the record the statement that I read on behalf of the council and the citizens of Fountain. Your Honor, and members of the court and members of our community, I stand before you today on behalf of the Fountain City Council and the 30,000 residents who call our community home. We are here because of the loss of Officer Julian Becerra, a devoted husband, father, son, friend, and deeply respected member of the Fountain Police Department. His service, his integrity, and his sacrifice are woven into the fabric of our city, and his absence is felt every day. Today, the council and I respectfully but firmly ask this court to impose the maximum sentence allowed under Colorado law. Devin Beaubien's actions and the actions of those he associated with set into motion the chain of events that led to Officer Becerra's death. We understand that no sentence can restore Julian to his family, but the sentence handed down today has consequences that extend far beyond this courtroom. It sends a message to the people of Fountain and to every law enforcement professional in Colorado about the true value we place on the lives of those who protect us. Accountability is not vengeance. Accountability is justice, and justice is what Julian, his family, and this community deserve. I also want to speak to the unbelievable courage and professionalism displayed by our officers and first responders both the night Julian was gravely injured and every day that has followed. As we said at the time of his death, Fountain is forever grateful for his service, and we are equally grateful for the selfless actions of the men and women who ran toward danger that night, working tirelessly and fearlessly to save his life. Their steadfast commitment has not wavered, not in the days of grief that followed, not in the months of the investigation, and not in the years of healing and perseverance since. They have continued to serve with honor and professionalism even while carrying the emotional weight of losing one of their own. That strength is the backbone of our public safety system, and our community is safer, stronger, and more united because of them. We stand with them and by them, and we remain profoundly proud of all they do, often without thanks or recognition. Finally, as we mourn this tragic loss, we cannot ignore broader questions that this case forces us to confront. We, as elected leaders and citizens, must consider whether recent legislation decisions and policies regarding bail, habitual offender statutes, sentencing laws, and release conditions sufficiently protect public safety and the lives of those who put themselves on the line to protect us. Officer Becerra's death should not be in vain. Let it prompt renewal, reflection, accountability, and reform so that no other family, no other community must suffer a loss like this again. Your Honor, Julian lived a life of honor, courage, and service. The sentence issued today cannot fill the void he left behind, but it can affirm that his life mattered deeply to this community, to this state, and to the justice system charged with protecting both. We ask for the maximum sentence. We stand with our police officers and first responders, and we call upon all levels of government to work toward the reforms necessary to prevent tragedies like this from ever occurring again. We will never forget Officer Julian Becerra, and we will never stop working to honor the life he lived and the sacrifice he made. Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to add a personal note that I was so proud of the officer who testified on behalf of the department.
It's Detective Isaac Abila.
Abila. Not only did he say what it meant to him, but he stood up there and said that he forgave him. And he said, if you called 911 today, we would come, we would take care of you, and we would serve you with dignity and respect that everyone in this city deserves. And I was very proud of him. I know that was really hard. I know he was really drained afterwards. He didn't really want to do it, but he did a great job. The judge complimented the department and everyone that was there on their behavior and their professionalism. Officer Becerra's family got up and said they forgave him. And it just made a huge impact on the court. And I think the judge was even just a little bit surprised. There wasn't a lot of name calling and all that kind of stuff. It was just very professional and very honoring to the person that he was. So thank you for letting me speak on behalf of everyone. And how many years again?
The sentence was 132 years, the maximum he could have gotten.
As a habitual offender.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
And thank you, Mayor and Council, for that statement. It was much appreciated. Councilman Rick, yours as well.
Okay, on to the next thing. Went to the CML meeting for the policy committee meeting for things that are coming up into the late state legislature, which goes back into session in January, mid-January. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to forward you all this email of my notes and stuff from the meeting. I won't go through it all today, but I just wanted to mention a few of them that I have concerns about. One of the ones that they want to do is that if a school district or a nonprofit owns 5 acres or less of land, they want to be able to bypass local land use authority and just pretty much do what they want. And that's an unfunded mandate, and the motion from the recommendation from them was to move to oppose, and that passed 58-2. And then some of the other ones were Representative Bacon partnering with the ACLU on legislation intended to close what they call a data broker loophole. The motion was to oppose, and I voted yes to oppose. Municipal courts, unfunded mandate with live streaming anytime jail is a possibility. Several people online wanted to move straight to oppose. The recommended motion was to amend. That passed 54-9. I voted no, because I think the person running the bill has already said they're not going to be amendable to changes. I think they'll eventually get to oppose. They want to change core request times from 3 to 5 days. I think that would be appreciated, right? All righty. And then possible bills coming, but there's no titles or drafts yet. Residential lot splitting as a use by right, again bypassing our planning department. And street racing, concerns about how to stop and regulate. Body cam footage, Senator Snyder's talking about that one to amend a previous bill to add death of a police officer for allowable retracted footage. And then license plate reader, data sharing, enough said on that. And then pesticides being brought by something called the Coyote Project. They want to essentially ban any way to kill a mouse, I guess, in the state of Colorado. And then a second letter that I had Scott send out to all of you was an email that was sent to Governor Polis regarding the wildfire mitigation to make wildfire more resilient. I'm sure y'all read through it. The concerns are the way it was possibly illegally done and the way people are not being appointed to the board. And so I asked if we could have our fire department officers here today to kind of explain to us real quick what is wildfire resiliency, what are they trying to do, and do you have any concerns, and would y'all want to be volunteered for that, for one of those boards?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll give you a 30,000-foot view of the WRC, the Wildfire Resiliency Code. Wayne Kresman, our fire marshal's here to answer any real technical if we want to get in the weeds about it. This is a code that we discussed several weeks ago in a work session. And in a nutshell, what it is a new building code that requires all new construction to meet a more stringent, hardened, wildfire resilient code. And so one of the concerns with that is that the estimate is that it's going to cost anywhere between 30 and 40% more in new construction costs to meet this code. There's a whole litany of issues with it that we've identified at the local level that'll create headaches for us to enforce. And we can get into a little bit of that, but the largest concern for us is, one, meeting the deadline of getting it adopted and getting it implemented. That's the first concern, and it has to be adopted by April and then enforced by July. And then we have found issues with the map that the state initially used as the guideline to show the different areas that we're going to require different requirements. And so we've done some work on that with our city GIS team and the mapping guys down in that department. They've been able to help us produce a map that's a little more accurate that we'll be able to go by. So we've been doing the work to try to be ready to implement it. In addition, let me back up just a hair. In addition to the new build construction, there's also going to be an impact to those that have to do a remodel, i.e. exterior siding, roof replacement. If it's over 25% or greater surface area of exterior wall or roof that has to be replaced, it will also trigger the need to meet this new code. And so it's going to cause, this will impact our residents as it's written right now. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope that's a good refresher from what we discussed several weeks ago, and certainly we're here to answer questions.
Okay. So the letter also went on to say that the rulemaking was conducted very informally and the meetings weren't necessarily noticed correctly. There isn't really representation on this board from utilities and rural areas, and vacancies are trying to just continuing on the board, and they're not being filled. And as we all know, those boards are appointed people by the governor or his office, and so they're not elected officials making these changes that are going to be very costly to the citizens. So I guess my discussion with amongst the council members is this letter was CC'd to the leadership in the House and the Senate, but our local elected officials were not CC'd on this letter. So are you interested in, Scott, and I working together on a letter, just sending it. He's like, oh, I'm being voluntold, I better listen, huh? Real quick, just a real quick letter saying, you know, our concerns are you didn't get this letter, and we can attach this to the letter, and just asking them to check into the process of how and when people are being appointed and why not. Is that something that you would feel comfortable us moving forward with? And that would be Representative Bradfield and Senator Snyder, our local officials on that. So would you like just myself to sign it on behalf of all the council, or would you like Scott, like to get all our signatures on it, which could delay it? What would you like to do? Just Mayor Thompson and on behalf of the entire Fountain City Council, is that okay? Okay. All right. All right, thank you. Sorry I took up so much time, but seems like things come in spurts. All righty. All right, so that will take us out of item 6. And on item 7, consent agenda. All items listed in the consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately at the discretion of council. What would council I'd like to do? We have items A and B. Councilmember Geek.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Councilmember Rick.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any deliberation? Seeing none, please vote.
Seven yes, motion carried.
All right, thank you. That takes us on to item 8, old business. There is none tonight. Item 9, new business. Item A, consideration of item removed from consent agenda. There were none. Item 9B, Resolution 25-061, a resolution authorizing and approving the Venatucci water rights lease between the City of Fountain and the Security Water District. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members of the council and the public. Just for those of you that don't know me, my name is Taylor Murphy. I am the Water Resources and Engineering Manager for the Utilities Department. And as the mayor noted, the item before you tonight is consideration of a water rights lease that we have been negotiating with our neighboring Security Water District just north of us for the better part of about a year. So before I get into the details of that lease, I want to give you just a quick kind of overview and general idea of what the Venatucci water rights are, how we currently utilize them, and then explain kind of what this new proposed lease looks like. So just at a very simple level, these are water rights and specifically groundwater wells that are associated with the historic Venatucci farm. Most of you probably are familiar with this. It is located on the west side of Highway 85-87 up near Main Street. It's really kind of marked by the large green silo tank that you can see very clearly and prominently from the highway. That is kind of the focal point of where the water from that farm goes. These rights historically irrigated the farm. However, back in the early 2000s, they were looking to kind of downsize their operations, and with that, they entered into a lease with the Widefield Water and Sanitation District and the Security Water District to kind of offload some of the rights, their water, to those districts on a perpetual basis. They, in turn, worked out a deal with Fountain and immediately entered a sublease that gave Fountain some of that water as well. All of that was really kind of cleaned up. Water was changing hands and allocations were shuffling around a bit. In 2012, all those leases were kind of consolidated and cleaned up in a new lease, and that is the lease that we operate under today. So we work under the framework of a 2012 lease. I'll call your attention to the table in the bottom right of this slide. That is the amount of water that each of us receives from this supply project today. So Fountain gets 10% of the water that's leased from the farm. Security takes about 45%, and Widefield takes the other 45%. Just to kind of put that in context, how much water we're talking about right now, the city of Fountain uses about 3,000 acre-feet of water a year to fill our pipes 365 days a year. The 135 acre-feet that our 10% gets us is less than 5% of our annual supply. So in the grand scheme, it's not a whole lot of water that we currently take from this project. That water really, we just take it through the summer, kind of helps hedge our bets against some spikes in demand where we may have some small issues, and it only lasts us about 3 months with the amount of water that we have. So to go in more of how that water works and what the mechanics of these leases are, all the water that is taken by us utility partners from the Venatucci project is granted on what's called a take or pay basis. What that means really is that before each year that we're taking water, we pay upfront to the owners of the farm for the full amount of water that we are allowed on paper. Regardless of whether or not we use that water, if we use some, all of it, or none of it, we pay beforehand that full amount on a per acre foot fee. So really, it's in our benefit to try and use all the water we can because we have to pay for it. That's just the way the leases are structured. As far as the actual operations of how the water moves around, these wells are operated by the Security Water District. Their operations staff, their utility staff manages everything. They simply bill out a % of their costs to Widefield and Fountain. So the way the water actually physically works is it's pumped from these wells. It is sent to that large green tank. From there, all of the water, because we are in the Widefield aquifer, because PFAS is a thing, all of that water gets piped to Security's PFAS treatment plant that the Air Force constructed for them, where it is treated for PFAS. From there, the water moves through Security's drinking.
Hang on just a second, because we got to have you recorded. Can somebody loan him a mic, please?
I think we're back. Nope, yeah, we're good. All right. So after the water is treated at Security's PFAS plant, it is sent through Security's pipes, and it is delivered to each of the other systems. Fountain receives our water up at the north end of Banley Drive. Widefield receives it on the east end of Security's system. From there, we take the water into our system, we run it through a pump station we control, and we send it out to the rest of the city. So before we get into tonight's lease, I really just want to kind of emphasize a few points as to why we're bringing this lease, why we think this is a good idea, and really just kind of how great of an opportunity we have before us. So kind of the nice thing about Venatucci Water compared to other options that we are exploring and options that may come down in the future is that right now we already receive water. That means we have the infrastructure to take this water. We do not have to break ground. We do not have to commission construction projects. We don't really have to put in any large amount of effort or capital in order to get this water to our system. Because of that, that means the water is immediately available. Once a lease is signed, once we have the legal right to that water, it's ready to go for us. Because it is local groundwater, because we're not having to pump and pipe things from Pueblo and far beyond, it's relatively cheap water in our overall portfolio of water compared to the other sources we have. And then really the key big point here is, I touched on it briefly, we have other projects, other supply options, other long-term things we are looking at, exploring and studying. We are really leaving no stone unturned in trying to bring more water. All of those other projects and options will take years, if not decades, of study, design, planning. The implementation will take a long time. They will cost millions, tens of millions, extreme costs that we will have to brace for. This really is the only good opportunity in front of us right now to get water without having to bear those long time frames and those significant costs. So for those reasons, we really like this Venatucci water. And with that, I'll jump into the lease with Security and why this is a great thing for us, we believe. So as you know, we have some water constraints that we've been dealing with. In early 2025, Security approached us on the Venatucci project and indicated that based on long-term planning they had done, they did not feel they needed all of their water from this project for long-term needs. So they floated the offer that we might be able to lease some of that water on a long-term basis to help out Fountain. One thing that's really important to note, we have worked very carefully to craft this as a two-party lease. If you'll recall, the 2012 agreement that really kind of we operate under right now is a three-party agreement with Widefield, Security, and Fountain. Widefield needs all of their water. They are not looking to lease or share any of that. Since we are only working with Security on this, we've been very deliberate and diligent to make sure that anything we modify under these leases is only affecting Fountain and security. You'll note in that table of what the new breakdowns for water would be, that Widefield remains exactly unchanged at their 45% that they are entitled to under the previous agreements, so we're not looking to modify anything from them. As for the lease, some of the basics, this would be a 50-year lease of water. So it would extend from 2026 to 2076. In the first 4 years, we would take slowly escalating amounts of water because we do not need all the water immediately on day one, but we have to pay for everything that we take. So we want to slowly ease into that as the need grows, just so we're not paying a large check up front. And then as far as the payment mechanics of this lease, the nice thing about the lease is really all we're doing at a high level is taking over Security's already existing obligations to pay for the water. I said that we all have our own take or pay amount. It's just a flat fee per acre foot. This is really being treated as a pass-through cost where we are just taking over Security's obligations to pay that fee for the water. On top of the lease cost, we do want to acknowledge there are some other expenses that would come with this water. They're all relatively minor, but there would be a small infrastructure payback component owed to Security. They invested in wells and infrastructure. They can't use all of the water that they had invested for. We owe them some piece of that hardware back. We pay Security to run the well system. The more water we take, the larger our share of that O&M cost is going to go up. We pump the water into our system. We will have increased electric and utility bills because we will be taking more water, therefore we will be pumping more water. And lastly, we do have some very minor capital needs anticipated. Before we take the full amount of water in 2030, we just want to upgrade some pumps and add some redundancy. And so finally, I will close with kind of the bottom line, because everything we do in utilities is really keeping in the back of our mind what is the overall financial impact due to the state of the water fund. So to give you an idea of what the cost implications are that we're talking about with this lease, right now, our annual source of supply cost, that is the term we use for everything involved in getting treated water to a tank to send it out to our customers. Everything that happens before that, from managing water rights, paying for storage of water rights, paying assessments for ditch companies that we own some water rights in, moving the water, treating the water, pumping it around, everything to getting it to a tank. Right now, we spend about $3.3 million. So in 2026, the first year of this lease, where we would be taking the smallest amount of water, our upfront costs would be about $40,000 increase. As we step into the larger part of the lease, by 2030, when we're taking the full amount of water, that would be about a $190,000 annual impact to the water fund. And that does scale up with inflation because our lease cost does, but that would be really the final cost for the 50-year term that we'd be paying every year to bring this water in. So with that, I will open it up to any questions from council or the public. I do just want to note that before we look for a motion and a vote on this, Scott has a bit more to add after we've addressed some questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any questions from council? Councilmember Bearhoff.
Taylor, can you clarify, is this treated water or is this non-potable, non-treated water?
So we are technically leasing the raw water rights associated with the wells. However, because of how the project functions, we are taking treated water from Security's system is where kind of the end delivery point of this water is that comes with this.
And then is there has there been a cost analysis on the savings that we would have? Because otherwise we'd be treating our own water in this portion too. Has that been taken into effect? Because we're not having to pay for the treatment of the water then.
So
because it's already been part of the lease, if you will.
Correct, yeah, the treatment, so right now the treatment is subsidized by the Air Force. They are still paying the treatment costs for Fountain, Security, and Widefield at the PFAS treatment plants that each of us has that was built by the Air Force. So at the current time, there is no treatment cost for this water. Just like our wells in town over at Aga Park, we do not pay for any costs at that treatment plant. We pay the costs, the Air Force reimburses us 100% of those treatment costs. So the treatment is, in essence, for us partners, free because the Air Force is paying for all of the treatment at Security's plant. If that subsidy were to go away, that treatment cost would be added to the O&M cost that we all pay to Security, and that would increase proportionally. I can't say what the costs of their treatment plant are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rick?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my layman's understanding is we have three pieces of a water treatment. You have the raw water, you have the ability to treat the water, you have the ability to store the water and pump it into our system. It's my understanding, based off what you've told me, security is providing all three of those elements. They're pulling it out of the ground, they're treating it, they're storing it or pumping it to us, and it's just going in directly into our pipes. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
Thank you. That's all I had, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions up here? Any questions from anyone in the audience? Please come down and state your name for the record. You're the only one that raised your hand. Steve didn't raise his hand, so you're good. Push the middle button, please.
Always forget that. Frank Carrick. How does this affect, is there a positive on this for growth in Fountain? I noticed that there weren't any permits pulled by Regional Building Department for the city of Fountain. And I know we don't have any water. And does this have any effect on new growth for Fountain?
Yes, this would have a positive effect on the amount of water that we have available for growth. I'll let Scott add on to that if he'd like.
Oh, well, fine. Yeah, thank you.
Steve, last chance. Okay. All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back up here, and Mr. Trainer.
So one thing that wasn't really, I don't think it was mentioned specifically, but you got to remember, think about this as a business where, and kind of to Fran's point, where you have run out of inventory to sell. This is someone giving us really cheap inventory to sell. And so the thing you got to remember is, in addition to these costs, there are associated revenues that come along with these. Our capacity, it's not a huge capacity increase, but it does give us capacity for maybe, who knows, a couple thousand connections. And so you just got to remember that as well. The one thing that's really important to us is that you guys as a council have a feeling of the value that this bit of inventory, this additional capacity brings to our organization, our business, because that does allow us to do more residences. It does allow us to provide water to commercial businesses that come in, industrial, et cetera. So there's a real value to that. And so that's why you see a recommendation from us to move forward. If we didn't have that kind of capacity, or if the cost was too high, you wouldn't see that recommendation from us. However, the one piece of this that is outstanding that we still want to have some conversations with the council about to nail down is specifically, how do we want to allocate that inventory? When you have unlimited inventory, anyone comes in, house, business, whatever, great, do it, go for it. But because this is such a limited, finite resource for us, we think it behooves the city council to really speak to and have a discussion specifically on, okay, how do we want to allocate this? Do we want to allocate a certain portion to residential, a portion to industrial, a portion to commercial? What about setting aside something for special, unique projects that come in, whatever those kind of things are? I think that's a valuable discussion to have. Because we haven't had that discussion, we're a little bit reticent to specifically move forward with signing this agreement, only because it puts us on the hook for existing developers, right, who may have the desire to move forward with all residential, right? So one of the things we really want from the council is to get a sense of, number one, does this seem like the right path moving forward? If the council is supportive of this concept, what we would recommend is that you give us that nod that yes, you're good with this, but then table the specific approval until we come back to you in January, because we do want to have a deep dive discussion on specifically the allocations in January. That way, if the council says, I'm just going to make something up, but it's going to bring 2,000 or 1,000 new connections, residential equivalents to the city, and we want 500 for job growth, and we want 500 for new homes. That gives us some direction, then we can execute that lease agreement, and then we can move forward with the development side of the house as well. We just didn't want to get the cart before the horse, but at the same time, we needed to make sure that everything was lined up here. Did I misstate anything on that?
No,
Taylor, you want to
that's
clarify?
exactly it, I think.
Okay. Sorry, Jennifer, did you have a question on that? Okay, so I thought you saw your hand go up.
Okay, hang on just a second. Okay, I'm going to open it back up to the public again in a second.
Makes
We've got
sense.
new information. But it sounds to me like the specific plan you're asking for is to us to make a motion to table this until a further specific date. Could or should that further specific date be the first or second meeting in January?
So here's my
Or even
recommendation.
February?
My recommendation would be to table it to a date no greater than 90 days. Our plan is to bring it back in January.
Okay.
But you know how that goes. So we actually have plans to come back January 13th, but just want to leave that out and have that discussion. But we just wanted to give us time frame. And I would only do that if you're comfortable with this whole concept in the lease agreement. If the council as a whole is saying, hey, we don't even like the lease agreement, then there's no need to table it, right? Our strong recommendation is this is the cheapest water we're going to get, and so it would obviously be to move forward with that,
Well,
for whatever that's worth.
If we don't accept the water, you know someone else will.
Sure.
And so I think if we have a chance for water. But any questions on what Scott just said?
I'd like to hear
Hang
from,
on just a second. Councilmember Van Beerhoff?
thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to hear from the public, and then I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Trainer?
Sorry, I had one last thing, and this is just a nuance, but it's an important nuance. One of the biggest struggles, and when we talk about growth, is when you think about growth, you're always thinking about the outside guys coming in, annexations, whatever. Our biggest need is the infill, the people who already own the properties here that need the water to develop them. And so I just want to make sure that that's what the council knows. There's a big focus on our existing property owners for this water, for
Right.
whatever that's worth.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to take it back out to the audience again. Is there any questions from anyone in the audience? Mr. Arce, please come forward. Push the middle button. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve Arce. I am not the sharpest tool in the shed often, so I just need help understanding this because I think having water, extra water, more water is good, right? Although we are talking about a lease that is for 50 years. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct.
Right. I'm 50, so that's a long time, or I'm 58, so that's a long time, okay? So, I will never see the end of that lease. So please, let's make sure that we do the right lease. And I guess what I need clarification on is, and correct me if I'm oversimplifying this, but I know if I am, there are other people that are, and that is this. This is water that exists in Fountain.
This water is in the Fountain Valley area. It is used already between Security, Widefield, and Fountain, not just the city of Fountain.
Coming out of Venatucci Farms
That is correct.
in Fountain, that they're leasing to Security Widefield, that we are buying from them.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't sound hinky to anybody. When I put it to you that way.
I would say no. Existing inside of the water world, there are far more convoluted and weird ways that water changes hands, and it really is because of the nuances and quirks of how water is owned or controlled in the state of Colorado. So the farm owns the original water right. They are the legal owner of the water.
I get that. And they exist in Fountain. Who's selling it to Security Whitefield? Who we're buying it from?
I'm not sure, but I don't believe the actual farm itself is in Fountain city limits. I believe it's a
Okay,
little
all right,
north of city limits.
Okay, like I said, I could be wrong, and I just wanted to make, because clearly if I'm looking at it that way, if I'm oversimplifying it, I'm sure there are other people are. But, all right, thank you. But again, 50 years, so do we have to do it for 50 years? Could we do it for something shorter? Because we might not.
Frankly, we pushed for as long a term as we could get from security because when we are dealing with water, you want long-term planning certainty. We've had other opportunities come up for 25-year terms of water. The challenge being that if you receive water and then you decide to build rooftops, build new homes, new water demands based on that, if at the end of that 25-year term or whatever, somebody says, I'm going to tear this up, you have existing customer obligations that you can no longer serve.
So I know in a lot of the contracts that I've dealt with, that it will be for a certain period of time, and it lasts that period of time, but then halfway through it, right, you have the option to revisit it if you do want to try and renegotiate it. Even though it is for this amount, halfway through, you're like, okay, let's go ahead and renegotiate this. Can we have something like that?
There are terms written in the lease for mutual extensions nearing the end of the term.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Carrick, please come down, state your name for the record.
Fran Carrick, in over 80 years, the shares of our water have not one time gone down. We've paid more every single year. And $40,000 increase in cost, I consider that nothing when you're looking at water. And $190,000 is almost nothing when you're looking at water. And Fountain is going to need water to grow. So I think this is just a great deal. I'm all for it.
Thank you. Okay, I'll bring it back up here once again, last chance. Anything else to add, Mr. Trainer?
The only thing, Joni looked up the date, just as an FYI, the 90 days, the last meeting would be March 10th if we went to the very end of that. Again, we actually want to be moving this far quicker than that, so we'd be wanting to have that discussion in January.
So that,
Just wanted to give you a date, though.
yeah, the correct motion would be, I move to approve resolution, no, I move to table resolution 25-061 to a date no longer than 90 days.
Yes.
Okay. Chris?
Okay.
All right. Okay. Commissioner, now we should have the salary to go with that, huh? Councilmember Vanderhoff. Dan, I'm sorry, I keep.
Thank you,
Vanderhoff.
Madam Mayor. I'd actually move to go ahead and pass the resolution, but with a tabling plan of the allocation within 90 days would be what I would recommend for a motion on that. Would there be any objection from staff or anybody else on making a motion?
Hang on,
to go
Mr.
ahead and do it?
Turner's about to have a heart attack.
Not hard, that's actually the path we were originally headed on, but there's a little bit of a nuance in the way our current water rules are set up right now. And what we didn't want to do is by passing this lease agreement now, all of a sudden showing that now we have additional inventory of water, so that without creating the allocation piece, and then having developer ABC come in and say, hey, because the way your water rules are written, I can go ahead and snap all that up right now and pay. And so that's the little nuance, because that's exactly the path we were heading on, exactly. That's why we would say, let's just make sure that we have that allocation site. Does that make sense? Because, Mr. Veerhoff, that's exactly the path we were heading down, and then we had this little discussion on that nuance and decided, maybe we ought to have that allocation discussion first.
So I believe I have a motion on the floor, and I believe that motion would need a second. Motion dies for lack of second. Does anyone else? Councilmember Estes.
I move to table Resolution 25-061 to a date no longer than 90 days out from tonight.
Do I have a second? Councilmember Geek?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Okay, seeing none, please vote.
7 yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay. That takes us on to item 9C, council, board, and committee appointments. I hope everybody ran off. It's not in our packet, so did everybody run one off that we can share, or did you have one, or? It's on my desk. Or you can look it up on your phone? Okay. So these are the boards and committees that we represent the city of Fountain on, and give everybody a second to see if they can pull one up or look. Okay. Alrighty, we have the Colorado Municipal League, Fountain Creek Watershed District, Fountain Urban Renewal, Fountain Valley Housing Authority, Fountain Valley Senior Center, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, and the Legislative Subcommittee. Is there anyone who is on a board and is up for a position on that board that we really want to keep you on there with that representation for the city? Councilmember Estes.
I might be back up for chair of watershed.
Okay, so since you might be chair, and elections are in January, I assume, we would want to hopefully keep her in that too. And I know I am up to be on the executive committee on Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. And so I'm hoping we want to keep that representation there. And then Pikes Peak Regional Building is a little interesting that they do not have an alternate. They only have a board member and no alternate. And anybody else that's up. Okay, has everybody got a copy of it now or able to look at it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so Colorado Municipal League last year was kind of an interesting year. Our primary was Mr. Trainer, and our alternate was another council member no longer on council. And when Scott got elected to the big board, the real big board on CML, the executive committee, they said that they didn't want the person to have to, be voting on things that they would be recommending, right? So the other council member moved up to be the primary, and then I stepped on as alternate. I would like to move up to be the primary and love to work with whoever would be the alternate because CML can be a little crazy sometimes. They do meet several times a year, 2 to 4 hours per meeting, and as things get crazier in the legislature, you can meet more often. And the really cool thing is with Scott being on the big board, it's really easy to talk to him and tell him the recommendations that we want to send up. But you still need to attend the meetings. They're virtual, so you don't have to go to Denver unless, and they ask us for letters and different things. Would everybody be okay if I moved up to the primary on that board? Okay. And then that leaves the alternate position open. And if you would like to be the alternate position, please speak up.
I would be willing to be your alternate.
Okay, Audra? Gordon?
I was going to talk about regional building, but.
Oh, when we get there? Okay, alrighty, and Sean?
I would be willing to go for it, but we'll see about the rest of the committees. I think I'm good with
Okay,
talking
we can
for
skip
it.
that one for now and come back. Okay, Fountain Creek Watershed District, Tamara, stay on since it's Chance should be chair of it. And that leaves an alternate position on that. They meet the third Friday of each month at 9 a.m. And is that virtual a possibility on that? It's a hybrid. Hybrid option, okay. Alrighty, alternates. Alternates is a good way to go to some board meetings. You don't really have to do anything unless the chair, the primary is not there. Kind of figure out what the board's doing. If there's anybody that is interested in the Fountain Creek Watershed District.
If it's virtual on Friday mornings, then I could give that a go.
Okay, all right, anybody else? Okay, all righty. Urban Renewal, Councilmember Hertzberg, I believe you were interested in staying on that board. You've only been on a year, so you probably figured out what's going on now. This is the end of your second year, okay. Oh, okay, all right, but you're interested in staying on that board? Okay. Fountain Valley Housing Authority meets the third Thursday in the evening at 6 p.m., so that's a really good board if somebody is working and might have a difficulty on that or has a real interest in that. I have Councilmember Rick and Councilmember Geek.
No, I'm just leaving it on for the regional building.
You're just trying to throw me for a loop, huh?
Yes,
right.
absolutely. I have
right.
no other purpose here other than.
All right, there you go.
For you.
Marcia, I take it.
Fred asked me to take his place, so I'm volunteering for that position.
Okay, Marcia Geek, okay. Alrighty, Fountain Valley Senior Center, fourth Wednesday monthly at 1 p.m. No virtual option on this one.
And I am the current chair.
You are the current chair, okay? I believe, Marcia, you are just a community member on that board also? Yes. Okay, so we would not want anybody else on that board because then we'd be in trouble. Alrighty, and Pikes Peak Area Council of Government, like I said, I am up for a seat on the executive committee. But the alternate seat, love to work with somebody on that because that's a big board with a lot of moving pieces and meet different days. So is there anyone interested? I'm not even going to look at Gordon. He's just leaving his mic on. Sean?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to go for the alternate on that one.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Pikes Peak Regional Building, Mr. Rick.
Yeah, this is a board that meets in the middle of the day, the third Wednesday of the month at 11:30. So I'm able to attend it. I would prefer to stay on that board, but if somebody has an expressed interest, I would be willing to step aside.
Well, I had some of the staff approach me and say that they're really, really happy to have you on that board, and you ask really good questions, and that didn't surprise me at all. So that's great. I understand they serve lunch, though, too. Yeah. Okay, we have 12:30 on the chart, so let's.
It is, it's 11:30 for the lunch.
11, okay, 11:30, okay, all righty. Then we have the Legislative Subcommittee. That is our lobbyists that we work with and monitor bills that will affect our home rule status, cost to our citizens, overreach, all that kind of stuff. And the way that one is written up, it is the mayor or the person they appoint, and one other city council member, and the city manager and the city attorney. I am on that board. I'd like to stay on that board. It dovetails really nice into being involved in CML, and then also being on the legislative committee on Pikes Peak Area of Council of Governments. And so is there anyone who is interested in being the second council member on that board? We do meet during the week. Scott Joni asked me the day, and we've changed it so many times, I couldn't, is it Thursdays at?
It's been Mondays and Thursdays, yeah.
I think we changed it to Mondays at, Thursdays at Monuments request, because their council meetings are Mondays. Yeah, Thursdays like at 3?
But we always revisit that every year just to make sure it still works.
Right, but just plan on that, and then that is all online. All virtual, yeah, because we are, there's 3 cities splitting the cost of that, Woodland Park and Monument. And so we can get more bang for our buck and more voices. So I do have a light on from Sean.
I would like to go for alternate on that one as well, Mayor, Madam Mayor.
It's not an alternate.
Oh, it's,
It's a requirement to be at every meeting. It's a participating member to discuss the, okay?
I'm happy to be there.
Okay, that's just, yeah, okay. So back up to Colorado Municipal League, I had Audra, who is not on any boards, and Sean interested in that. Sean, would you be willing to let Audra be on that for
That's
this year?
perfectly fine with me.
Okay, all righty. Okay, okay, so let me go through it, just make sure we have it all correct. I have Colorado Municipal League, I have primary Sharon Thompson, alternate Audra, I'll get there, Rufinok. For some reason, I'm struggling with Sean's name, and I keep putting Van Der in there, so I gotta retrain the brain here. Just answer to it, Sean, okay? All right, and then I have Fountain Creek Watershed District, Tamara Estes is the primary, Jennifer as the alternate, Fura, Jennifer, no alternate, Fountain Valley Housing Authority, Marcia, no alternate, Fountain Valley Senior Center, Tamara Estes and Marcia, Pikes Peak Area Council of Government, Sharon primary, Sean alternate, Pikes Peak Regional Building, Gordon Rick, and Legislative Subcommittee, Sharon, Sean, City Manager, and City Attorney. And then the other cities appoint, who they want to attend that as well. All right. And I know, Gordon, you also are on the Regional Advisory Council. That is a committee off of PPACG. And I don't think you have a term on that. So as long as you're willing to stay on that.
I would prefer to step down from that, but if no other member is interested in doing that, I will stay on.
So that's not a board that's on our list, because that's a committee that's open to anyone in the community. And I have had a really hard time throughout the years, people staying on that committee, a Regional Advisory Committee. That is the group that when money is allocated to Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments for the nonprofits in the area, and the, mostly transportation dollars, money used for area and aging services, they score the applications that come in for when deciding how to, because you always have at least double, if not triple, the amount of money people are asking for. And so there's a lot of work for a few months, and then the rest of the time you're just meeting and getting educated. So Gordon, when does that meet?
That meets the fourth Thursday of the month, third Thursday? Yeah, third Thursday of the month, at 10 a.m. in the morning at Pikes Peak Region, or the PPACG headquarters. It is a hybrid meeting, so you can attend virtual. It is my understanding from talking to the people at the board that Fountain has a permanent seat on that board, that committee.
Yeah, the Fountain does, yeah, but
Foun-
not the council necessarily. right?
Fountain does, so that's why I asked it to be included on the list, since we're the appointing authority for that board. I thought we should have that on the list. As I said, I would prefer to step down, but given the time frame, it's a 2-hour meeting from 10 to noon on a Thursday. So if somebody doesn't want to do it, that's fine. I'll continue on. But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
My goal with those boards is to at least attend half the time in person, because you really need to build the relationships, with the people. So, Gordon, I'm not seeing any other buttons, so I think for right now, you're staying on. And then that meeting is open to the public like anything, right? So if you would like to pop in on it and just see what it's all about, and visit it for a couple of months, you can ask Gordon and he can forward you the virtual invitation for it, so, yep. Okay, all righty. Anything else? Almost too easy, okay. All righty, that takes us to city council agenda requests. Anybody on my left have agenda requests? Anybody on my right? Okay, all righty. That takes us to item 11, announcement of an executive session. Ms. Carneal.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I will be pulling the approval of the minutes from this executive session on fault of my own. So in accordance with the city charter and the Colorado Open Meetings Act, the city council open session is to determine whether it will hold a closed executive session. A closed executive session may be held upon an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the quorum present. If consent to the closed executive session is not given, the items may be discussed in an open session or withdrawn from consideration. The purpose of the executive session is pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions pertaining to a settlement authority for ongoing future litigation. Madam Mayor?
Okay, that is the motion from our city clerk. And like she said, we do have to vote in open meeting if we want to go into executive session. So what would council like to do? I know what you want to do, but I know what you need to do. So, all right, Councilmember Rick,
Move we go into executive session.
Councilmember Hertzberg.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mayor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Estes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Veerhoff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Geek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Rick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Hertzberg, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruffinock, how do you vote?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
This meeting is adjourned, and we will be back at 7:15 for the executive session.